You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth, and we believe Power Talks. We welcome you this morning, Melody and Beth Ann, and good morning, Melody. How are you?
Well, good morning to you, and good morning, listeners, to this. Well, it's a little cloudy here on the Delmarva Peninsula, but still... Oh, we made it through the weekend. There was a lot of predictions that we wouldn't be here this morning, so,
Just to be there, wake up, and dry is good.
Well, the 23rd was a significant date, as everyone talked about, that, with planets aligning and, all this kind of stuff, stars aligning and Planet X and everything, that, it was supposed to be the end of the world on Saturday. So it's good to be here, everyone.
We always manage to make it through those predictions.
We certainly do. So, and not to make lightly of those who believe that and so forth. I mean, one of these days we won't be here.
Yeah, one of these days it will. It will take place.
It will take hold. Yeah, So.
Well, we missed you on Friday. I told the listeners not to rat me out, but I cheated, and instead of having a show full of information, I had open mic day, and I let them be the show. So,
well, I think that's fantastic.
I cheated a little bit.
Maybe we should have one of those every Friday.
I do on CSC. I call it Free for All Friday. So I didn't want to mimic my name, so I called it Open Mic Friday.
Well, I think we should do that on Fridays, or Mondays even is a good day, but to see what the
Speaking of, we could give the number right now, 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218.
And I just want to let the listeners know, eventually we will have a website where you'll be able to listen to the archives, and perhaps we can do some tweeting and maybe even some blogging or so forth. We do have an email at this point in time, powertalks@yahoo.com. That's powertalks@yahoo.com. So if you want to send us an email anymore is a little antiquated, I guess, with Twitter and everything else, but
but it's
you
showing our age, isn't it?
Kind of like Facebook, but yeah, go ahead and please send us an email, and particularly if there's a topic you'd like us to discuss. I mean, an hour goes by quick when we plan what we want to talk about. We're going to be talking about the NFL. We're going to be talking about the EPA. I have something that just irritated me this weekend about the EPA, and so we'll be talking to some about these things. So let's get started.
I wanted to mention a little bit about the shooting in Tennessee, the church, and talk about that a little bit as to how that came to be. We don't know how it came to be, really. You can't get into a person's mind when they're deranged. I think they're deranged if they want to go in and kill a church full of people, or a mall full of people, or a street full of people, or whatever the case may be. I find them a little bit deranged, sickos, and so I want to talk about that just a little bit, too.
Let's get started with that one.
All right. Well, the shooter was a 25-year-old, and he's actually from Sudan, but he moved here, I guess, at a young age. And he was 25 years old, and he decided to go in and shoot this church up, I guess, and just take out numerous people at one time. Don't know why he did it, but he was posting different things on Facebook, and I don't even know what it means. Sampson posted photos of himself posing at a gym Sunday morning with the caption, "Unrestricted say that for me, paroxysm." And I don't even know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Well, it's like a sudden outburst, violent outburst.
Okay.
It can, an attack, an intensity.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. But the thing that one person was killed and several others were injured. But before it was all over, what took him down was a 22-year-old with a concealed carry license, and he stopped the shooter. He got in an altercation with the shooter, got pistol whipped across the face before he took him out, I guess, or at least stopped him. So anyway, it was a nasty day there, and I didn't hear anything about it last night. I didn't turn the news on. I don't turn the news on weekends. I try to take a little bit of a vacation from the news unless something's really, really going on that I think I need to see or listen to. I didn't hear anything on the evening news last night, not one thing. So that was disturbing to me. We cover all this crazy political jargon, and something like this wasn't talked about in the evening news there on Fox. I was watching Fox. Now maybe it was on the other stations, so that'd be my fault for not turning on the other stations. But I was trying to figure out what was going on nationally, and I would think that would be big national news.
It should be, and but even the shooting up in the school, they've really taken shootings out of reporting. They mention it a little bit, and it's because they don't use it as a I think this administration isn't using it as a weapon for gun control like the previous administration did. My heavens, if there was a shooting, there was it was paraded 24/7 for 7 days a week to promote their agenda.
And one thing I did agree with Megyn Kelly was not giving these guys' names out and not giving them any glory. And the shooters, because they're out there to make a name for themselves, and the next guy wants to one-up them. And so don't give them any glory. Don't give them any accolades for it. And, don't give them any acknowledgement. And so I did agree with that with her. That's about the only thing I agreed with her about. But
But there were some things I did like the way she did some of her reporting and so forth, and I think there's times she's made a fool of herself.
I didn't like the way she insulted people when she interviewed them.
No,
I saw her do that to Rand Paul. I saw her do that to Ben Carson. I saw her do that to.
you knew she had an agenda, and that was part of it, and that no reporter should do that, So she's certainly not, I'm not a top fan of hers, but there was some stuff that she did
every now
and then she would get on somebody's case and run with it. And now, she really, I don't think she was as good as they portrayed her to be at all. Once in a while she'd come out with something good, but, and look where she's at now. She's barely, holding on to any type of a, she had some, heck, she interviewed Putin. And, so she had some, but it didn't stick. And I think in any industry, if you're blackballed to some degree, it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
You're not going to get back in.
Right.
You're just going to get some little...
She went down the wrong road.
She did.
She was, she's, we have the right to our opinions, but she just went the wrong road with it. She had the right to her opinion, but she certainly went down the wrong path with it. And it upset the American people as much as anything. Yeah. That's who she really lost was, I watched her every night, even though I didn't always agree with her. I watched her every night until I saw her continually do what she was doing. And when she says she claimed, or I assumed, that for some reason through the years I thought that she was pro-life, but she was not. She was not 100% pro-life, and that she made some comment to somebody, and I can't even remember who it was she was interviewing, and I thought, oh my goodness, she is not pro-life. And that bothered me quite a bit. But then when I saw her insult Rand Paul, she insulted Ben Carson. There were some others that really bothered me.
At the end, she was getting her head really blew up. Her head really blew up. And who I do like, and you don't see, and we'll have to move on, is Greta Van Susteren.
I like Greta. I didn't always agree with Greta, but I liked the way she put her show together. Yeah. I really did like her.
And since she left Fox, she's not getting. She's not on any news programs now.
She left
MSNBC. Yeah, she was there for 7 months, and then so I don't know what she's doing. And but I
did like Greta, and I never understood that one. I really liked Greta, so. I didn't agree with her on everything, but I liked the way she put her show together.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. We don't have to agree with everybody. I liked the way she presented herself. I liked the way I really liked Greta.
I
felt that she really gave the sides an equal opportunity.
I did too, and I thought that she presented them well. Mm-hmm. I liked she usually had some kind of a human interest or some kind of a positive.
She was a fighter on some of those human interest stories, too.
Yes, she was. Yeah. She did. She was. She meant what she said. Mm-hmm. She wasn't putting on an act. That's how I saw Greta.
Yes, very, very
true. I hope
true.
I was right. But she meant what she said, and she was sincere. You can always... and I felt that in her. I never felt that in Megan. I never felt her sincerity on anything. But
hey, I didn't see this. We were so busy chatting. We have a caller. We have a caller, Arthur.
Arthur. Arthur, how are you today?
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Just great, thank you.
Earlier, you were talking about the police department. I wanted to make a comment on that. But one of the reasons we're having the biggest problem with these police departments is because the Clintons put up $2.6 billion of taxpayer money to illegally militarize them, and now they're carrying these tasers, which damage your DNA. That's a violation of the 8th Amendment under Miranda. And a lot of these shootings, make no mistake, some of them are CIA operatives, and a lot of them are people on psychotropic drugs. Joyce Riley did a big thing on that. It's very interesting how they've manipulated the public with the drug cartel. The legal one I'm talking about, like Lilly, the pharmaceutical corporations. And this is one of the biggest problems in society right now, man. People are doing stupid things because of the medications they're giving them, including the police department. You'd be surprised how many cops are on psychotropic drugs.
I mean, I agree with you, and I think we've seen in our police, we've seen a lot of military being absorbed, military policemen that are being absorbed by the, they want Iraqi, they want those who fought in the Iraq War and so forth that come back to be part of the police departments. They want them to have military experience. And a lot of these communities are getting, military-grade, vehicles and everything like this, like they are planning a war, perhaps. And I agree. I mean, absolutely. And I believe that majority, the drugs.
The drugs are a problem. Well, but I'm gonna defend the police a little bit here. Because I know. Let me have my say, Arthur. I'm going to defend them a little bit.
There are good police officers. Don't get me wrong. There are very good police officers.
Absolutely.
I have some in my town.
Absolutely. Okay, they're not on drugs. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
These cartel that are coming over here are armed to the hilt.
True.
And they go after whoever or whatever, whether it's cops, whether it's civilians, no matter what it is, they'll go after them, and they've got body armor. So our police do need to be somewhat prepared for that. They can't go in there with their, little shooter like you would off of Marshall Dillon and think you're going to come out alive. So I'm going to defend that just a little bit. I'm not defending the Clintons by any means. And I do think sometimes they're a little over-militarized, but I am going to defend it somewhat because they are dealing with others that have that militarized and above gear, whether it's the ammunition, the guns, or the body armor. So I'm going to defend that just a little bit.
There's a war in my police department in my local town. A lot of the brass are child molesters. Listen to me. And they're being protected by town council members. This is these Masonic idiots, And,
so how do we?
I feel really sorry for the police officers that really want to do their job right. But you'd be surprised how many of them are white shirts and brass that are controlling this and are pedophiles, they're murderers, they're drug addicts. It's okay to defend the police.
Arthur, we're going into a break, and we're going to lose you here real quick. We're going into a break. You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody in the morning, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and I want to get back, Arthur, I want to make a statement before I let you go. The one problem that you said was the corrupt people that are running the telling the cops what to do, and you felt bad for the cops that are trying to do the right thing because they can't get it done. I think all small towns, even big towns, even cities, have that same problem. And the only way to fix that is to go back locally, and you've got to get those guys re-elect. You've got to elect people that have integrity, that want rule of law, and get those corrupt councilmen and mayors and commissioners or whatever they are, and get them out of office. The swamp isn't just in D.C. You got to get them out. Well, if you're in a small town, you guys know who they are.
Right, but how do you do it when the town council's corrupt? It's putting them in and they're cheating on the elections. How do you do it then?
Well, how are they cheating on the elections? You've got to find out. You've got to expose it.
That's exactly what I'm in the business of doing right now, Beth. That's exactly.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I have a court case against the police right now in my town, and yeah, we're fighting. We're fighting, dear. We are fighting.
But it's the council you need to get rid of. So
they
get elected.
Right
they get elected.
Right.
So get some other people to run that you know have integrity and will stand up for what's right.
I agree. That's the American way, baby.
It is. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you, Arthur.
The call. Wow, that was we started Monday out pretty good there.
Well, it's an issue that's in every little town across this country.
Or city.
And city, little town, big city, whatever. There is a lot of corrupt. But you know what? It's the world that we live in today. And it's because I do believe we've taken any accountability out. And that has allowed this the corruptness to breed, and that is God. We've taken God out so many places. It used to be, that people with strong values, you wouldn't do things that were wrong because you had to be accountable.
Those who always scream or chant or bring up separation of church and state, what they really want is to remove God.
Absolutely.
That's what they really, really want. And when they say tolerance, they don't want tolerance. They want acceptance. Mm-hmm. By that, they want you to accept their ways, but they don't want you to have your ways. You're not allowed to stand on your Christian faith. You're not allowed to stand on life. Sin is nothing new. It's been here since the beginning of time. And it is in our nature.
Thanks, Eve.
And we just can't seem to get away from it. But let's move on. We've got some other things to talk about. And
this weekend there was we're going to be talking, of course we're going to be talking about the NFL. I just want to get this one in quickly. They had German elections. People say, well, who cares? Well, you know what? It is part of the New World Order, and we should care in what's happening. What's interesting about the German election is that there was a third party. It was a hard right, AfD, had the best showing for a nationalist force since World War II. So even though Angela Merkel, she clinched the fourth term in her election yesterday, her victory was not as strong as what many had hoped. In fact, this was her party. She's been in power for 12 years. It was the worst scoring since 1949, and even her nearest rivals, the Social Democrats and their candidate Martin Schulz, came in a distant second with a post-war record low of 21%. So the strong performance by the AfDs is really making the commentators over there were talking about this was a watershed moment in the history of the German Republic. So you look at this and people are saying enough is enough. Just like the Brexit.
Yes, I was going to say, the swamp is global.
Yes.
Because those like Merkel and the deal with the Brexit, we had President Obama went over there campaigning against Brexit. Am I saying that right?
Brexit, yeah.
Yeah, and, of course, they wanted out. They wanted independence, so to speak. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology or not. And we've got the same issue going on in D.C. They're fighting for their way of life. I've got the little quotes in the air here, which is their globalism, their corporatism, and their greed. They're no longer representing we the people, and they haven't been for a long, long time. It wasn't just through President Obama's administration. It was through it's been through many, many years. And the swamp is global. There's no doubt in my mind. It's mankind. Mankind's nature is to sin, is greed and corruption. And what is that? They want power at any cost of human life or other people.
And it occurred, and that's something that will always occur. But
yes.
So even though she did get her election, she had her victory. She had to fight for it, and there is a new nationalist party that had a very fine showing, and of course they're also linking to the French National Front, where you had Marine Le Pen, who did, so it's showing, and
yes, across the board, it's
across
not
the board.
Just,
so. Change doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
Even with we were talking about local elections and changing, voting and getting other people to run and stuff. It does take time. And I think us as human beings want to see change right away. Well, that's just not going to happen. And the other side, the elitists, whatever you want to call them, the elitists, the New World Orders, they're so very patient. So very patient.
They are very
They
patient.
have plans that take that span centuries, because they're patient. And if they have a little rising up, and at one point in time it used to be the evil would always, come to the forefront, but there was always enough strength in religious beliefs to push them back underground. And I don't think we have those, I guess that's the question. Do we have enough religious belief to push these evil people back underground? And I'm not so sure we do. I think that was a problem that they've eliminated.
Well, and also
I know the ultimate winner. I get
good
that.
People who do nothing are the reason we get the corruption. But good people who are taking care of their families, trying to make a living, doing things right, living. Well, it's not like they're angels, but they don't want to get involved. I was joking during the break. I said somebody suggested I run for an office in my little area, and I go, I don't want to run for office. But they do need somebody in that particular position. It has to be the position of mayor, but it goes more. There's more to it than just that. There's, it needs to be somebody in there that's you're going to take a lot of hits, and it's not going to be easy. And that's why good people don't want to get involved in it, because they already know it's corrupt and they know they're going to fight that. It takes somebody with a certain personality that can get in there and take the hits. And I know we mentioned before we started the show, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, Donald Trump's tweets, and sometimes he aggravates things more with his tweets. But at the same time, I don't know if anybody else could take the hits like he's been taking. I wouldn't want to be in that position where I'm constantly taking the hits like
if I was a billionaire, I'd say hit me all you want.
Give me your best shot.
Give me your best shot,
Even billionaires
and I,
can be
I do
taken
think
down.
when you get in various positions, I couldn't today. Oh my gosh, but I get what you're saying. But he does take a lot of hits. But he creates a lot of those situations, too. And I don't know if they're done intentionally. I don't know if they're done just by innocently. I don't know why.
I think he's just being him. I think that's just him being... Well, I take it back. I think he's smart enough. He has a plan. I don't know if he's got a 30-year plan. We talked about, the liberals, the left, they're very patient. I don't know that he's got anything laid out quite like that. But I think I found out last night, which I didn't know, he's not the first one to call North Korea guy Kim Jong-un Rocket Man. But he's the first one to get chastised for it. But he got called Rocket Man a long time ago in another nation. And I can't remember where it was now, but it was in the Middle East. But
well,
sometimes I think maybe he shouldn't have tweeted
we're a little
this.
bit better than the Middle East, but anyway.
Now.
Anyway, I think this big thing is, does Trump have the right to call for a boycott against an industry, the NFL? I don't agree with what's been going on with the NFL, but I think it certainly has made it a little bit bigger with his tweets and his comments. Do I agree with the NFL? No, I think the NFL has a behavior contract that that these pro football players have to follow, and but the NFL doesn't enforce it, and I think the NFL is wrong, and I think it's great that they've seen I'm not so sure if they've seen their attendance drop because you had one football player last season that would kneel. Maybe the game just isn't as good as it once was. It was someone that was explaining, I saw that every time, somebody gets hit, there's a flag, and it's just like, we want them to play football. So, the game is becoming a little bit, different than what it once was.
You play games to escape everything else.
Yeah.
And you can't do that when they're trying to use it as a platform. I think they were already being boycotted. I was already aggravated. I usually only watch one game anyway. I watch the Chiefs. That's the only one I ever watched before.
Pittsburgh.
And, They got beat, but I'm just saying. Anyway, so the Steelers had one person stand, and he was a vet, and
the coach kept him inside,
and it was. Yeah. Well, go ahead. And you probably know more about it than I do, so go ahead.
Well, the coach kept him inside. He kept the players from going up because he didn't want to have that as part of the game. And there was
good idea.
And there were several teams that did that, I believe.
Don't give them an opportunity or anybody else an opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't think this is the forum to place your political views on display. I really don't. And there was one football player that came out. He was a vet. He came out. There's only like 4 or 5 players in the NFL that served their country prior to going into playing football in a major league, and he came out and he respected the anthem and the flag. So, but the coach did keep their players from going out, which I thought was perhaps the high road to take. And what's also the most disturbing thing is the football game that was held in England. And they all took a knee for our national anthem, but stood when they played England's national anthem.
Well, they can stay there.
They should. As far as I don't even have words to say for that.
The United States.
I think it was the Raven. I might have been. I'm not quite sure which ones were there, but.
Well, I think it's like some of the other things that are going on in D.C. Whether Trump is right or wrong in his tweets or giving his opinion, being in the position that he's in, I don't know. But the truth and the heart of people are being exposed. These football players have been given a gift from God with their strength and their ability their athletic ability to make millions, to change things around for their families, to be one up. Their kids will have opportunities they didn't have. And instead of being grateful, because that can't happen just anywhere, as dark a history as we might have in some places, and as disrespectful as some people are with their prejudices, they don't have that opportunity any other place. And the colors of that flag and what it represents, men and women of all colors have shed blood and sacrificed that they might have this opportunity here in the United States of America to be a celebrity, to make millions off of a gift that was given to them. Other people don't have it. They don't have it because they're special. They have it because God gave them a gift. He's given all of us some kind of a gift, and they're not grateful for anything. I see it more of an ungrateful move than I do of anything else. Their act is out of total ignorance. Yeah. Their own kind. They say it's not racist, but men and women of every color shed red blood, and men and women of every color have died or sacrificed for this nation, for liberty, that they would have the opportunity to do what they're doing. And it just irritates me because it's out of complete ignorance. I'm sorry.
It is complete ignorance.
But it just really gives me, how many times, whether the wars were right or wrong, how many times did America go in and rescue others? How many times when other countries have a tragedy, do we go in there and we give aid and help? How many times? Yeah, you could say, well, but the government always has a plot. They always have something. But the American people don't. We are a generous people, and we will give and give, and we will lend aid and help. And this disrespect of this flag is disrespecting everyone of every color that has ever done anything good in this nation. The ones who do bad are fewer. I do believe that. I could be wrong, but I do believe that.
No, I agree. It is just all done out of ignorance. I saw an interview with, I don't even know what his name was this morning, and he was a Hollywood actor. And I'm thinking the thing that came out of his mouth, I mean, they're just not ignorant. They're just downright dumb. I mean, literally, they're stupid. I mean, it's like they're not even hearing what they're saying. It's like, how can you? And and it was about the NFL and Trump and all this kind of. It's like, are you kidding me? If you can't respect the country in which you live, then get out.
Get out of it.
Get out and go someplace else that you respect more.
They are in the moment. They only see the moment. They don't see the past. They don't know the history. They want to look at the bad part of the history. When we were in the Civil War and we had slavery, we're not the only nation that had slavery. We're not the only nation. There are nations now that have slavery. And to keep dwelling on something that is that long gone is ridiculous. Move on. You have opportunities in this nation. And if you've been given the ability to do the things these guys can do physically, and my son was telling me, Mom, a lot of times those guys go broke just like that. They just go broke just like that because they think that money's just going to come forever. I said, well, they make enough in 1 year to fix their lifetime. He said, yeah, but they blow it. A lot of them just blow it.
Just like winning the lottery.
He said, just like winning the lottery. And he said, that really is a shame. I said, it is a shame because they've been given this opportunity and they blow it. Of course, I guess we're all given some kind of opportunities that we blow, but I don't do it purposely and by disrespecting others. And this is not intentionally anyway. I'm certainly no angel, but it irritates me because I'm thinking of many of their grandparents fought in a war for their liberty, and they're disrespecting their own relatives. Some of their own relatives fought in World War II, great-grandparents or grandparents or whatever, uncles. And they're disrespecting them. That flag doesn't stand for slavery. It stands for freedom.
Yeah, it's their mindset is just. I mean, but you know what? It's all part of the conditioning. It's all part of. They get to a level, and they don't attach themselves to anything anymore. They have no. It's them. I mean, it is sort of a madness, I would think, and but it's good to see the football ratings drop. They deserve it, and let's just.
And it's not just the issue.
But the more attention we give this, the more attention that two players got, it just exploded into this, and it's almost like the shooters. You give them this attention, and it just gets bigger and bigger. If you ignore them and so forth, and not give them the stage, maybe
kind of like the shooter. Don't give them any credit for what they're doing.
No.
Well, and it's not just this. I think this is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, of the American people. But we've watched the NFL do so many stupid things. They have players where they ignore. I mean, I'm not going to defend Vic. Was that his name, Michael Vick, that was in with the dog?
The dogs.
The dog fighting. They made a big deal out of that. How many of them are beating their girlfriends or their wives? And that one came up, but it's gone on for a long time.
He came back to playing football, though, too.
But they ignore that. It was worse for Vic to have the dog fighting, which goes back in history as well, cockfighting, dog fighting. I don't approve of it. I'm just saying it's a culture from another time. Some people are still involved in that. The Hispanics do a lot of that. We see that in our area because we have several in this area. And we had some living next door to us, and they'd get this cute little puppy, and next thing you know, that dog's gone.
Oh.
That dog's gone.
I don't agree. I don't agree with
it, but I'm saying it's a cultural thing. And some people do get into that, and I'm not agreeing with it in any way. Please don't all of a sudden everybody go ASPCA and PETA and HSUS on me. I don't agree on it. I like little puppy dogs and kitty cats, but
that's part of the problem. They bring their cultures here instead of coming into the United States and assimilating. So.
Well, that's their football.
Then they should go home to watch their football.
Well, I agree. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying they made a bigger deal out of Michael Vick with the animals than they did these guys that are beating their wives.
Agreed.
And I think that's, the American people are just getting fed up with it. They get arrested for their drugs. They get in fights. They do this. They do that. And
they say the stupid
and they get away with it.
Somebody
and they take knees.
Yeah.
And they kneel. Anyway, I'm upset with the NFL. I like football, but I'm really upset with them. And I know a lot of people that were gung-ho football people that are not watching football anymore.
I was a big sister to a little girl many years ago, and her religion, I can't remember, I think she was Latter-day Saints. I can't, which is the one that goes around to your house on Saturdays and knocks on doors.
Well, the Mormons do that, and so do Jehovah's Witnesses.
Jehovah's Witness. She's a Jehovah's Witness. And their religion, they're not allowed to stand for the national anthem.
Because that makes that a god.
So when I took her to, when I would take her to an event, she sat. I stood and she sat, and I didn't have a problem with that. And yeah, we got some looks and stuff, but I respected it. She didn't kneel or anything like that either. And but I'm not saying that these people are doing it for their religion, but
no, they're not.
No, they're not. But that was just a situation that I was involved in, and that was 30 years ago, maybe.
They are doing it for attention, and I think you're right. We need to stop giving them attention. And the American people are turning NFL off because the NFL has gotten involved in politics. We don't want them involved in politics. We just want football. Just football. Just play the game and shut up.
But for them to go to England, and listeners, what do you think? Are we spending too much time?
Yeah, we're sitting here talking. We need to have the listeners tell us what they think. 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Are you upset with the NFL? Do you not like football anyway? Some people really like football.
Or is it even worth discussion?
Yeah, maybe not. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann, we're going to stand up, and we'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks. We hope that's all you heard. Because we were singing. We were singing on the commercial break. Anyway, I told you last week I'd rat us out every time.
Boy, I have to be really careful now when I say. Are you going to tell them what song?
Yes, I will. We were singing Monday. Can't trust that day. that dates us a little bit.
I don't know, Beth. We have too much fun on this program. So.
We really do.
We really do. And I hope the listeners enjoy it, too.
My old boss says if you can't have fun what you're doing, whether it's a job or whatever, you shouldn't be doing it.
Shouldn't be doing it.
You got to have fun. And, you know, we do. We talk about a lot of serious things and things that get us all riled up, get our blood boiling, and but you got to have a little fun with it, too. And it is Monday. Mondays are kind of odd days sometimes, and we've talked about some pretty heavy stuff. You know, we're the Monday, what do they call it, Monday football quarterback. So
quarterbacking.
We're doing a little football quarterbacking, trying to figure out what you think about the NFL. And that, again, the number to call is 717-300-1218. I'm going to hit that pretty hard in CSC Talk Radio coming up in the next hour. And I have some things that I want to share that I think are serious. I think they're not being I think these young men are doing something out of ignorance and being misled in their disrespect for the flag. I think they fail to understand exactly who it is they're disrespecting. And like I said earlier, I believe they're disrespecting some of their own ancestors who actually fought in the war, where there's a great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, you know, men and women of all colors, all bleed the same color of blood, runs red, and I think that it's out of ignorance, and they live in the moment rather than to understand a bigger picture. And Hollywood's infamous for that because they, you know, somebody else writes their lines, so they got to come up with it on their own. They're just in the moment. They don't think ahead. Anyway, what else is going on? You said you had something about the EPA. I wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, I wanted to talk. This is in reference to Hurricane Harvey. And the EPA came out and they said they recovered about 517 containers of unidentified, potentially hazardous material from highly contaminated toxic waste sites in Texas that flooded last month during the Hurricane Harvey. Now, you know, there's a lot of these Superfund sites here and about. The people who live in and around these sites, I'm not sure they're really are informed to the dangers. You know, we have such high cancer rates in this country. And, you know, this agency, the EPA, does not provide details about which Superfund sites the material came from, why the contaminants at issue have not been identified, and whether there's a threat to human health. You have people all over this country that have gone to Houston and in these flooded areas that Hurricane Harvey devastated, and they're not being told that there might be a threat to their health. And it's not much different than 9/11. You had all those first responders. They weren't told about, you know, the dangerous chemicals that, you know, from the collapsed buildings, and so many of them have died and are ill from leukemia. This is 517 containers.
We have often wondered here in our little town, which is a railroad runs through it. It's a twin city, and often wondered what's on those cars when they go out, when they go through here. Because that they're carrying some of these that go somewhere else to be buried. They're carrying them. They're going through these towns right across America. And I don't think the American people are being informed. I don't think the EPA really cares until something else happens, The
AP...
EPA.
I'm talking about the Associated Press. That there was a government hotline that received calls about 3 spills at the U.S. Oil Recovery Superfund site. A former petroleum waste processing plant outside of Houston contaminated with dangerous brew of cancer-causing chemicals. Records obtained by the AP showed workers at the site reported spills of unknown materials in unknown amounts. And, it's just like, why is this going... I get they can't control the flooding. I understand that. But not to warn people now of the fact that there's dangerous chemicals in these waters and in some of these low-lying islands and so forth.
Now, they did talk about some of the chemicals that were in the water there in Houston earlier because of something that was leaking in an industrial plant in that area. I don't remember if it was an oil plant or something else. I can't remember now what it even was. But they did tell the people then that there was something in the water, in the flood water, that was highly, they tried to downplay it. But we talked about it a little bit here. They tried to downplay it some, but it was, the one guys were having a little trouble with their skin irritant and eye and that was those were
from the smoke of those containers. It was from the smoke from the containers.
The chemicals.
The chemicals.
The burning. That's what it was. Something was burning, but it was in the water as well.
Caused fires, but obviously they didn't have them because once you add the chemicals to prevent that from happening, it destroys that product. So, it's just. But here you hear all the time the EPA is always there to help and so forth and whatnot. And it's all about money, folks.
And all about money. Every time.
Every time it's all about money. And, people have built up, they built homes on these lands, the toxins on these lands and the dirt, and children and mothers and fathers and grandparents get sick. And, again, cancer. People want to know why there's such an epidemic of cancer as well. There you have it. So how has the EPA really protected the people from these, manufacturing plants and so forth? DuPont, along the Chesapeake here on the East Coast, they have some of the highest cancer rates in the country. Why? Because DuPont was dumping chemicals into the water supply, how many years ago? And I guarantee you, people are still dumping things into the water and pollutants and so forth. And
the drums that are underground for the filling stations, for the gas stations, are they not affected at all when this flooding comes through, when the horrible flooding comes through as well? That's there as well. I know that's not necessarily toxic, but, we've got so much. The EPA had to know those things were being hidden or buried in that area. They're supposed to know where all that stuff is.
But anyway, I just thought that was kind of there's a lot going on in these areas that is not being reported.
No
as
longer
far
are
as
we hearing anything, are we?
We're not hearing anything that's going on in these areas.
I
talked to someone in Florida a week ago, and there was still debris that hasn't been picked up and so forth. So folks, those of you who go down and help in those areas, be careful, because there's a lot of other dangers that you might not know. In fact, there were some people here that took supplies down to Houston when that was happening, and they started talking to another group, and they were actually robbed of their supplies. They were robbed of their supplies. Plus, the Red Cross wanted to take over their supplies. They wouldn't allow them in. They says, "Well, we'll take them out and distribute it for you." And they said no. And they found a church that was able to take the items and distribute it to their for those in need. So a lot of stories aren't getting out about what's happening in
the aftermath. We're not hearing about.
No, not at all.
We're not hearing about it. And it's, I think we're out of time. I'm trying to watch the clock here. And
I hear music.
I don't hear it.
It's there. Trust me.
I'm going deaf. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we will be back tomorrow with Power Talks because we believe in truth and we believe in empowering you with the truth. Melody, you have a great afternoon.
And Pelosi is defending the NFL kneelers. Does that surprise you?
Of course she is.
Disgusting shame.
I guess her and Trump's friendship's over now, huh?
I guess.
All right. You stay free out there and always stand for what is right. We will be back tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.